What if I told you that the worst economy in Europe is even worse than you think? Europe, a continent of contrasts. From the opulent streets of Monaco to the rural landscapes of Moldova, the economic disparity is as vast as the cultural diversity. While some nations bask in the glow of economic prosperity, others languish in the shadows of poverty and despair. Let's turn our focus to one such country, Moldova. Nestled between Ukraine and Romania, this small nation carries the dubious distinction of having the worst economy in Europe. But the story of Moldova doesn't end there. It's a tale steeped in historical turmoil, political instability, and a desperate struggle for economic survival. Imagine a place where the economic conditions are so dire that people are driven to sell their own organs just to make ends meet. This grim reality is not a dystopian fiction, but a harsh truth for many villagers in Moldova. Imagine a country where the GDP has plummeted to a third of what it was in 1990, making it one of the most severe peacetime declines in living standards and economic output. However, the root of Moldova's economic plight isn't just recent financial downturns. It's a complex web of historical challenges, territorial disputes, and deep-rooted corruption. From the Soviet-era collectivization that led to devastating famine, to the major financial scandal in 2014 that saw $1 billion stolen from the country, the path to economic stability has been fraught with obstacles. Caught between the desire to align with Russia or the European Union, Moldova's political shifts have only added to its economic woes. Despite international praise for its reforms, the country is still grappling with corruption, ranking among the most corrupt post-Soviet states. But this isn't just about numbers or economic indicators, it's about the people of Moldova who have borne the brunt of these economic challenges. It's about a nation's struggle for economic survival amidst geopolitical instability and a lack of natural resources. This is the harsh reality of Moldova, a country trapped in economic despair. To understand Moldova's economic woes, we must travel back in time. Let's delve into the annals of history and explore the roots of Moldova's struggles. Moldova's history is intertwined with the Soviet Union, a relationship marked by territorial disputes and conflict in regions like Transnistria. These issues were not merely political, but had a profound impact on the economic stability of the region. The Soviet Union, with its iron grip on Moldova, imposed collectivization, a policy that drastically altered the agricultural landscape of the country. This wasn't all. The banning of the Latin alphabet was another blow to Moldova's cultural identity. It wasn't just about letters on a page, it was about the suppression of a rich linguistic heritage, a move that further isolated Moldova from the rest of the world. But the worst was yet to come. The Soviet policies led to a severe famine, one that would claim the lives of at least 115,000 individuals. This famine wasn't just a result of poor weather or unfortunate circumstances, it was a direct consequence of the Soviet Union's policies. The collectivization drive stripped farmers of their lands and the people of their livelihoods. This famine was not just a tragic event in Moldova's history, but a stark reminder of the devastating economic impact of political decisions. It was a period of extreme hardship and struggle, a time when survival was a daily battle. Moldova's history is not just a series of events, it's a narrative of resilience in the face of adversity. It's a tale of a nation grappling with economic and political instability, striving to protect its cultural identity while battling the harsh realities of famine and poverty. Moldova's past is a tale of political turmoil and economic struggle, setting the stage for its future hardships. It is this history that has shaped Moldova, a country that continues to grapple with the repercussions of its tumultuous past. It's a story that sheds light on Moldova's economic woes and provides context to its current struggles. And as we move forward, we'll delve deeper into this narrative, exploring the events that further shaped Moldova's economy. The year 1991 saw Moldova declare independence, but freedom came with a hefty price tag. Imagine a small country, nestled between Ukraine and Romania, breaking free from the iron grip of the Soviet Union. That was Moldova in 1991, standing on the threshold of a new era, full of promises and dreams. But as the saying goes, nothing worth having comes easy. The moment Moldova declared independence, the economic challenges started piling up. The costs of imports skyrocketed. You see, during the Soviet era, Moldova had relied heavily on subsidies. These subsidies were like a lifeline, cushioning the cost of goods and services, but with independence, the subsidies disappeared overnight. Imagine the shock when the prices of basic commodities soared. It was like waking up one day and finding that the cost of your daily bread had doubled or tripled. The economy, which had been teetering on the brink, collapsed under the sudden weight of these increased costs. Yet, amidst the economic turmoil, Moldova was praised for its reforms. The international community watched as this small country, fresh from the yoke of Soviet rule, struggled to implement changes. The World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, all lauded Moldova for its attempts at economic reforms. They applauded the efforts to privatize state-owned enterprises, to liberalize prices, to establish a functioning market economy. But the applause couldn't mask the harsh reality. Moldova was struggling. The economy was in shambles. The reforms, while necessary, were not enough to offset the increased costs and the loss of Soviet subsidies. And so the struggle for independence morphed into a struggle for economic survival. The dream of a prosperous, independent Moldova seemed to be slipping away, replaced by the harsh reality of economic collapse. The road to independence was marred by economic collapse, setting a somber tone for Moldova's future. In a bid to survive, Moldova attempted to align with Russia and later the European Union, but the journey was not smooth. As the country shifted its political alliances, it encountered a significant hurdle: corruption. It's an insidious disease that seeped into the very fabric of Moldovan society, further exacerbating its economic difficulties. The political shifts in Moldova were marked by an oscillation between East and West, between Russia and the European Union. On one hand, there was the pull of historical ties with Russia, a remnant of the Soviet era. On the other hand, there was the allure of the European Union, a promise of progress, prosperity, and democratic governance. But as Moldova swayed back and forth, corruption found fertile ground to take root. The issue was not merely petty corruption, but a systemic and deep-rooted problem. It infiltrated every level of government, from local administrations to the highest echelons of power. With each political shift, the corrupt networks adapted, ensuring their survival and continued influence. Transparency International, a global civil society organization leading the fight against corruption, paints a grim picture. In its Corruption Perceptions Index, Moldova consistently ranks among the most corrupt post-Soviet states. This is not just a stain on the country's reputation, but a significant impediment to its development and economic recovery. Corruption is a costly affair. It diverts resources away from public goods and services, erodes trust in institutions, and discourages investment. For Moldova, a country already grappling with a frail economy, the cost of corruption is simply too high. However, it's critical to remember that corruption is not just a cause, but also a symptom. It's a symptom of weak institutions, inadequate checks and balances, and a lack of accountability. Addressing corruption, therefore, requires a comprehensive approach that goes beyond mere punitive measures. It requires institutional reforms, transparency, and most importantly, a commitment to the rule of law. Corruption became a crippling factor, further deepening Moldova's economic abyss. As we delve deeper into Moldova's economic crisis in the next scene, we will see how this corruption manifested itself in one of the biggest financial scandals in the country's history. The year 2014 saw a scandal that shook Moldova to its core. In a country already struggling with economic instability and corruption, a financial catastrophe of monumental proportions was about to unfold. A staggering $1 billion, equivalent to almost 1/8 of the country's gross domestic product, mysteriously vanished from the coffers of 3 major Moldovan banks. This brazen heist left the nation's economy reeling, with the Moldovan leu plunging to all-time lows against the dollar. The fallout was immediate and drastic. The government was forced to bail out the banks to the tune of $500 million, placing a severe strain on the already fragile economy. In the aftermath, the scandal triggered widespread protests and political upheaval, with citizens demanding accountability from their leaders. The trust of the Moldovan people in their financial institutions and government was severely compromised. This scandal added insult to injury, pushing Moldova further into economic despair. Moldova's path to economic recovery is a complex one. A nation deeply rooted in historical challenges, it bears the weight of its past while striving for a brighter future. Moldova's geographical position, sandwiched between larger powers, has fueled geopolitical instability that reverberates through its economy. This instability, coupled with an inherent lack of natural resources, has made it difficult for the country to build a robust, self-sustaining economy. But perhaps the most persistent hurdle on Moldova's path to improvement is corruption. Like a stubborn weed, corruption has taken root deep within the country's political and economic systems. It has been a constant companion of Moldova's journey since its independence, influencing shifts in political alliances and fueling scandals that have rocked the nation. Navigating these challenges is no small feat. It requires a steadfast commitment to reforms, transparency and good governance. The road to recovery is steep for Moldova, a nation that has experienced more than its fair share of economic strife.